Hello guys, it is that Panda Cat and I'm here again with another video, and today we are going to be going through our recent Pompeii. And honestly, I went in thinking it was a different opponent than it was. This time I was kind of confused who we were fighting, but apparently it was SouL. And honestly, when we came in, I was a lot more worried than maybe I should have been. But at the same time, if these guys played it a bit different, this definitely could have went out different. And one of the big issues that I noticed when fighting SouL was the fact that they weren't doing proper Garrison captains. For example, in this video, I'm also not going to upload the 1 hour video because I went idle a lot because I was actually playing way more defensive. And I will kind of go into why this actually put me at a disadvantage, and a really big advantage at least, point wise and stuff, and in winning. So obviously when I was doing this defensive strat, I lost a lot of marches on my main and even my ults, because I would split off 2 or 3 marches just to hold the outer outpost, because the other outposts, they weren't really targeting, and the outer outposts are the most important and the ones that are most likely to be targeted. So all my accounts were losing 2 to 3 marches, and this gave me less to work with. And when I toggled all, sometimes it would also toggle some of these other marches, so I'd actually have to go through and manually unclick them, which was really annoying. But you guys will kind of see here, I decided that instead of going for an outer outpost in the beginning, I was going to clear out mid because I kind of wanted to just clear field control. And so basically what I do is I end up swarming their stuff down, but it was really weird because, okay, basically they have this 100 mil player, and I think the dude does have tier 6 or at least better research than me, right? And if he had played defensively, this actually could have been way worse. And I'll kind of go over like some of the main things that cause these guys issues. So basically what I would do is I would run up, take one of their outer outposts, and I would start stationing troops in this. And the thing is, these guys would end up swarming down these outposts, right? And it didn't go as planned for them because basically I'd already have my main account kind of garrisoning it. I'd flood it with troops, and the average player has worse tech than me, to be honest, right? And especially in here. So even when they were swarming these things down, they were taking really bad trades, and it was kind of just melting them out. Whereas they didn't have proper garrison captains. Let's say like the strongest people that were holding these like as captains were maybe 50 million, whatever it might have been, right? And the swarms were trading positive or more even for all my accounts. And that meant I just like had more troops to work with than these guys. And we kind of end up killing, I think, or not killing actually, but injuring, whatever you want to call it, 10 million troops, and only lost, 20 million, and only lost like 10 million. So I kind of showed you the trades we were taking. And these guys would basically have to swarm out the buildings that we would take because we'd take these outer garrisons. And I will also say that the longer I fought in the field, it's harder for me to refresh my marches while I'm fighting. So I actually decided to hit this helipad over here, and I thought maybe I'd take it. But honestly, even if I did take it, there was no, like, it was very unlikely that I would hold it long enough to start teleporting up. But I did want to kind of start teleporting up here, and that was kind of my hope. But they ended up swarming my marches out, unfortunately. But what I just basically either decided that these marches are going to take this helipad or they're going to melt. And I wanted the marches to melt so I could basically regroup my marches, because what I did in the beginning was I set them up in a massive group. You guys saw me swarm the middle after actually splitting 2 marches into reinforcements on our outer outpost. And then you also see me take one of their outer outposts, and these guys are constantly fighting for it on this left top corner, right? And the thing is, their bigger players are in their right top corner. And I will also say, I did take that outer outpost a few times, and every time it was swarmed or whatever, they took bad trades. They even have their top guy trying to rally this thing, and they take bad trades. It's just not ideal. Whenever they're kind of like, almost every fight they took bad trades, unless it was on the field. Maybe it was just really unideal, and I feel like that's the reason that we actually won. I did get a lot less points than I normally would because of my strategy, but we did win, and we won pretty marginally. And that's just because I decided that my main account wasn't really gonna fight. It was gonna make sure we held these buildings, and it was gonna make it impossible for the average player to take it out. And even if they swarmed, they were gonna be taking really bad trades, melting their marches out. And they just lost the gamble because they didn't have proper garrison captains. And that's the reason I say a lot that the core player really does need, like, your whole alliance is really going to need a crutch on your core player. Because in the case of this, these guys needed their top player to become garrison captain, hold these main structures, and force us to rally or swarm them down and take bad trades. And that's what you guys might have seen with my last Pompeii, that we actually were swarming these things down on Pickle. And the thing is, we had to be defensive, right? We had to be defensive because that was the best chance most people had of taking good trades, right? Because obviously, if you're having my technology holding these structures, we have one march of Pickle hitting them, right? Of course, we're going to be taking better trades than us having to swarm down one of Pickle's structures with a lot weaker accounts that aren't reinforcing a structure with a stronger player as at the helm with its technology at the helm, right? And also, you're also considering the fact that the average player from their side is actually getting in these structures and taking way better trades than they would have been, right? And trades are like so massive, especially in Pompeii, because these marches are just going to melt in the field. You're going to have less troops to work with. You're either going to be forced to heal, you're going to run out of troops, or you're going to have like an infinite amount that you're able to keep sending out. But like the point is that it's just not ideal, right? Like you need to have proper garrison captains, especially when your opponent is more on your size, right? Because if they actually played this properly, there was a chance they could have won, or there was a chance that this would have at least been way closer, right? And I didn't focus as much on their back outposts. I didn't care as much about those. I just would take out their outer outposts, fill it with reinforcements, and I would not care. And that's actually what you see here. So basically, I take this thing out, and I could have won field control for a good minute or two, but I decided that I was basically going to go through my accounts, let my marches idle a bit as well, which was actually a little frustrating because what ends up happening is my marches start just getting like attacked, but it was worth it because I end up holding this thing for longer, and it was harder to take out this outpost with me properly garrisoning it, right? And it forced them to swarm it out, waste so many troops. And then also the marches that are already on the field are already way weaker. So when we do fight again, it's going to be easier to melt these, get these off the field, and kind of just take field control. And I will give it to them. They did have really good field presence because I would fight a lot. And although I had like a good field control and I would hold for a while, I ended up just getting overwhelmed, right? Like they do have a lot of strong players. And I feel like that's their issue. They didn't really like play properly. And I don't think they took us as seriously as they should have, or at least they maybe didn't know what to do properly. I don't know. Their leader definitely should have been trying to garrison these things instead of trying to take field control. He should have left it up to the smaller players and just let them burn out, right? Or at least have two marches that are holding these as garrison captain, and like just have his players fill these things as much as possible. It was just really weird to see, and I feel like they definitely didn't do as good as they could have, right? Like they definitely could have done better. And I mean, that's something they can improve on. And that's something people can take as an example here because, obviously there was someone who should have had better tech than me. And he just wasn't able to do much. He just kept trying to fight on the field. And, field presence goes a long way, but it only does so much when, you're just getting smacked in these buildings. You're just taking bad point trades. It's just not smart, right? Like it wasn't a smart fight they took on. I feel like they just didn't do a good job, right, when it came to holding these buildings. I know I keep saying it. I don't want to sound cruel, but it's true. Like, you guys can watch this. You can look at the numbers. And honestly, this is already halfway through our garrison, and we're still taking positive trades. We're taking positive trades all around. Of course, some of these might be taking, positive trades against our thing. But overall, we are melting it. We are melting these marches down, and it was probably way better when the thing was at full capacity. And at the end of this video, I will be going through the reports, and you guys can kind of get a general idea at how our garrisons fared. And it just really was bad for them. And I will say that they did put up a good fight. They had good field control, and they did stay on the field a lot, which was just ugh. But yeah, they couldn't really do much, and. Yeah, I will say I did have my accounts that were actually going to come up here and fight for this building, this structure. And then I saw them starting to gather down over here. And honestly, I should have just ignored them. I shouldn't have cared as much because honestly, this was a win. And I should have just went for the base swarms right off the bat. But I ended up swarming bases like within the last minute, but it wasn't enough to like burn a lot of bases. But I ended up fighting them off like one of these structures in like kind of like bottom right helipad, and you guys are going to see that soon. But basically I fight them off over here, and then I end up going up to the helipad, and I just hit some bases, but it was only like a minute left. I should have just ignored them. It was 20k to 45k points, and honestly this was already a win. I will also note that basically what happens is I see all the people here, and then I end up targeting the strongest guy because I wanted to make sure he wasn't able to just start melting my marches. I wanted to get him off the field. I forced his field presence just out of here, and then I started targeting his weaker members. I just wanted to make sure I had the stronger guy off here, and it was just blah. Also, Guys, I am not used to being on the red side. This is the second time, and it's 2 times in a row, but this is the second time ever I've been on the red team. And I swear, I was actually trying to hit one of my members during this thing for like a full minute. I kept clicking on their march, and I was like, where's the attack? And I kept trying to drag my march over them. And it was just so weird. And then I remembered that I was on the red team and that I was in the blue team. And it actually, I was so shocked because I was letting them swarm our thing while I was trying to fight off our own teammate. Dude, I swear I'm like the stupidest person sometimes, and it's just hilarious. I don't know. Also, basically these guys keep flooding in the field, by the way. I think you guys are gonna kind of tell here. But I end up losing field control and even try swarming down the rally, which wasn't smart because the person leading it is generally strong. Though I will say the trades on the rally were decent, like even with like the count swarming it. But I shouldn't have swarmed the rally. I should have just gathered up a boatload of marches over here, swarmed out the marches, or just ignored them and started moving, which I do end up doing that. I decide that I'm not going to just fill in like troops to beat down this rally because there's no point in it. And I actually end up gathering my troops right under the structure. And I just ignore like whatever leftover troops they have because this rally is about to melt out. They start taking worse and worse trades as long as this goes because I don't think they are able to keep the rally full. And I do have a good garrison captain here, and I will say that it keeps healing, of course, meaning that a lot more of these troops are coming back into battle compared to their Peter, where Peter, I'm not really sure how he would like fare if you can't keep this rally full. There's generally like not much their Peter's gonna be trading well on. So honestly, it just wasn't like, well, the longer the rally went on, the worse the trades they were gonna get, and they just ended up losing over here. But honestly, the battle was basically over. I should have just ended up going up and kind of fighting off their bases, like I said, just because like it would have been more fun. It would have been a little bit more content, and it would have just been cooler for you guys to watch. But it was whatever. I will mention that this was fun, but honestly, like I said, there's no way to win if you don't play smart, especially when your enemy is at the same level or even stronger, right? You gotta know how to play. You gotta outsmart them, and it's just at this point, I feel like they just didn't really have much options. The second I was able to get into these outer outposts, I feel like they lost. They were forced into kind of retaking them. And what would happen is I would kind of bounce back between the left and the right, left and right, left and right, and keep taking these two and kind of just force conflict and, force them to focus on it because they didn't have time to siege as much. All they could do was send rallies. All they could do was expend a lot of their forces on retaking these outer outposts. And they were just put into a, back to the wall situation. And I mean, not much you can do in that, honestly. And I will also mention that, like I said, at the end of this, there will be a lot of reports, and I might go silent just in case you guys do want to stay for the rest of those reports, because I mean, it might be interesting for some of you. And, I don't really want to talk over the reports, but, it was a lot of nasty trades. And I will say, of course, a lot of my alts, of course, didn't take as good of trades as I did, maybe on the field or fighting on the structures, of course, will be all my accounts, but, on the field, of course, they will be taking a little bit worse trades, especially, since their tech is worse. But I will say my accounts are generally decently, researched. I feel like a lot of them have reached just deep research right before tier 6. So that is pretty nice. The worst part about that is going to be upgrading the battle center because now I have to use a ton of gems because in case you guys didn't know, to unlock tier 6, you need battle center 25, lookout tower 25, and those are both to max out your research center, which you need to unlock tier 6. So yeah, that's a lot of gems or a lot of time. And, I have to do a lot of rallies on hive minds, hope I can get some of those, and try to save as many gems as possible. It is not going to be easy. And, these accounts are kind of getting closer to maxing out a lot of their tech. So I definitely have to grind for that. And I'll just have to sit on VIP 9 for a while, which is going to suck. But I mean, honestly, it's better to have tier 6 than I think a VIP level up once, but I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the little pompeii footage that I got for you guys. And I do thank you guys for watching. And if you guys want to look through these reports, that is up to you. So I appreciate you guys for stopping by and peace out. I hope to see you guys in the next video.